Well, I prefer to go running when it's like this because it's
Cool.
so fucking hot outside. I don't know how people are wearing pants. When I go to shows, I'm seeing like girls wearing jeans, and I'm like, it is so ridiculously hot out here that there's no way I can wear jeans.
I don't know that I've ever worn shorts to perform though. Maybe like capri, like jeans, maybe, but I don't think I've ever worn actual shorts on stage.
Yeah, I feel like all comics are taking full advantage of outdoor sets where you're like, no mic? Okay, then I'm wearing shorts.
Yeah. Um, I have like a couple of Zoom shows coming up, I think. And then I was gonna do like an outdoor show in September I had booked. I'm still scared to go outside and get sick, but maybe
Um,
I'll just get sick already.
I think you'll be fine outside. I don't think people are really getting sick from the outdoor stuff. I
It's
think
from
it's
what, indoor stuff?
indoor stuff. And I'm doing my first indoor this week, and I kind of have to say I regret it. Like I don't feel like I should do it, and so I'm probably going to go get tested right after, and then I'm not going to say yes to any more indoor shows until the vaccine.
Well, you're the performer, so I think you'll be okay.
Yeah.
You're just like, I guess, people in the audience, but as long as they're separate, I don't know. I have no idea. It's weird. I was looking at California, and their numbers are about 100,000 higher than New York City, than New
Oh,
York, not New York
California.
City.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have about 400,000. We have about 300,000 cases, and they've only had about 9,000 deaths, and we've had 30,000.
Shit.
I was talking to Marlene about it, and she was like, "I think it's because most of your cases were in the beginning of this. You just said the strain has kind of gotten weaker." And I was like, "Oh, everyone was saying it's going to get stronger, so I don't know. Maybe it's going to get weaker, and it won't be as strong."
I don't know. I saw an article for Houston.
Sorry,
They
I
were
keep
saying,
taking this dumping.
oh, it's all right. They were just saying that it's more contagious, but it's not as
Strong?
deadly. Yeah.
Then that might be better because then it's maybe closer to getting the flu, and then you're not as scared to get it.
Yeah, it'll just be more of an inconvenience uh than dying. Although dying is like a huge inconvenience, but it also is a blessing
Not to
sometimes.
you. It's only inconvenient to your family.
Yeah. But when you do outdoor shows, be careful because I've gone to 2 outdoor shows and they don't give you a fresh mic. And they
Yeah,
don't tell you that, and you show up there, and so now I've been bringing my own these things so I can cover the mic, like a
that's
mic
smart.
condom or something.
Yeah, I got asked to do another show, and I was like, "Hey, I just want to know the setup. Like how far the audience can be from the stage, and do you get your own mic? I might just get my own mic to bring."
Yeah, I want to get one of those long skinny ones that they would do for the
Oh,
1970s talk show. Like you can probably start pimping out your mic.
yeah. I mean, that seems like a pretty sweet idea. And then you go there, and everyone's gonna make fun of you because you're the only one with your own mic. You're like, "Well, you guys are gonna die, so
I
whatever."
know. Well, what is it? Joe was telling me with the Cellar, there was like a comic that was like that last week, because they were still taping Week at the Cellar,
Hmm.
and one of the comics was wearing gloves, and people were making fun. And then it's just like in hindsight, you're like, oh, I guess that guy was probably absolutely right for doing all of that back then.
I remember I was worried about doing all that stuff, and I actually asked Joe what it was like on the road, and he was like, "It's fine." I was like, "Oh, I'm blowing this way out of proportion." I
No,
just feel
remember
like
that girl? Oh, no,
I
sorry,
just
go
feel
ahead.
like Joe has a pretty good sense of like what's going on. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just feel like he sometimes gets anxiety. So if he's fine with something, I'm like, it's okay.
I know that's the weird thing, to be honest. Like it felt like because he does have anxiety and I would say some form of hypochondria, which I think is like an offshoot of OCD.
It
He
probably
didn't
is.
really stress out so much about this. Like I was, cleaning vegetables, hand washing everything within the first week, and I don't think he was really mindful of or doing any of that.
So you're saying I should be asking you and not
Yeah,
him?
you should be asking me.
Well,
But
my
even
mom was.
I was careless about. I was like, it'll be fine. It's just China.
I know my mom usually gets the same way. Like she's overly anxious about stuff, and she was kind of like, "This is fine." I think it's because we've never had anything of this magnitude. Like I remember H1N1. I didn't know anyone that got that. Nobody got Ebola.
No one cared.
Nobody cared. I think
Yeah.
China was like, we finally made a virus strong enough to make you guys worried.
Yeah. Or it's like, that was a really good weapon that but then they also hurt themselves. But I guess they're doing better than we are because they know to wear masks, where they know like Americans are like, just straight up mavericks and not wearing masks.
Too cool for school.
Yeah. It's gay to wear masks. Although there's a lot of women that don't like wearing masks. I'll see a lot of like, check this bitch out on the internet, and it's just like a woman showing up not wearing a mask.
I won't wear a mask when I go walking, but other than that, I always wear a mask. Even though it's
Yeah.
awful and I hate it, it's just like you're such a piece of shit if you're just going out and not wearing a mask. Like nobody wants to be wearing it.
Yeah, honestly, like in my mind, I'm not too worried about it. But I do feel like I'm probably more likely I'm just wearing my mask because I don't want to get shamed or like called out.
It's good too. You don't have to like do your mustache. I think
Yeah.
didn't you say that? Like you don't have to do your mustache.
Yeah, you don't have to like pluck your chin hairs and then like I don't know. I kind of like it. I can rest my face easier.
I'd actually like it if it went over my whole face and just had cutouts for my eyes. And then I wouldn't have to worry about anything. My eyebrows.
Yeah, there's something about it of like I have this theory that I feel like I haven't had too many weird situations, and I feel like it's because people can't see my natural bitch face. So I find
They
that
just can
people,
see your eyes.
yeah, and so they feel like I'm maybe coming at them with a friendly persona. Also, my face mask sometimes will either be like tie-dye or like embroidered flowers on it. So it has like, it's a
You just
nicer look than this.
Yeah, but with that look, no one wants to talk to you. With flowers, somebody might want to talk to you and ask you a question about directions, and you're like, I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably not a bad idea to get a mask that has a photo of your smile, so it always looks like you're smiling, like an idiot.
Or your grimace.
Yeah. Yeah.
So are you excited to go on your little road trip this weekend?
Yeah, here's the thing though. Like, so I did Royersford, Pennsylvania. Joe did it was an outdoor gig, and they're doing shows all this for the next 2 weeks. And so I was like, I'll just come along, and Joe said I could do, some time, like, a guest spot. And I wanted to work on material. So I did it. I couldn't see the light. And then I ended up I was supposed to do maybe 10. And I think I ended up doing 15 minutes. So I had to go into some old. And there are times I was like, that is not how that one goes. But it's
did you forget
it. Yeah.
Did you forget jokes? Where you're like,
yeah.
I've done that where you start a joke and then you're like, I missed a pretty important line in that joke for it to make sense.
Yes. And I'm not the only one. People have been telling me they've had the same problem.
I remember, didn't we talk to Vecchione about it when he said that he had done, it takes like 4 shows to like, I guess, feel like your old self. But that's headlining sets. I think if you're doing 15-minute sets, it probably takes like 15, 20 shows.
Yeah. Well, I did. So this weekend, I'm going to do headlining. And by the time I get it, I will be done, and they won't get to experience me having a better flow of my jokes.
Well, maybe if they come at the end of the weekend.
Yeah, maybe I should just let everyone know to come at the end. That's what I was talking. I went and did Netflix as a joke yesterday.
Yeah.
And I was talking, Tom Papa and Fortune were like, yeah, isn't it great if your occupancy is only at 35%, it takes the pressure off of selling tickets. And then they were just talking about all those people that take those shots of them on stage with the crowd behind them. And they're like, it's like a great equalizer. Like no one's doing that right now.
I know. I would just be scared to do a show at 30% and nobody showed up still. I'd be like, well, I think they're doing 5%.
Because, like, when you're on the road and then you're like, no one's come to your show and you're just like, well, I think there was like a rodeo down at the neighboring town and that's probably where everybody went to. And you're like, that's not the case.
Or you're like, I think there was a mass shooting and everyone in this town died.
Yeah. So
So no
there's
one's
like
at my show.
there's no excuse for people not coming to my show or not hitting the quota or whatever.
I think you'll have fun.
It'll be
Maybe
fine.
you could do too. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just have I guess a microphone and something that just blasts your album and you're just holding it and not even doing your hour there?
Like a DJ, and then I just remix it.
Yeah, with some other comic stuff. A couple of other jokes. Do some of Joe's stuff in your album mix.
I know. That's it is funny. Sometimes you want to, like, if you're bombing, you're like, can I just play a set that I taped last week where I'm doing better and it's the same jokes?
I feel like somebody has done that on stage before where they're like, that joke has gone like this.
I think J.F. Harris did it at the Knitting Factory and people looked down upon it, but I was like, that's actually pretty funny.
It is kind of funny. That's
Yeah.
the same guy. Everyone was upset that he went to China right before we went on the cruise.
I know. But like he had just left China, I think, not that long ago. And then in the scheme of things, they're like, you're fine. You're a few days short of it.
And you're like, no.
And I think we talked about this. There was a guy like a few doors down that wouldn't stop coughing. And at the time, I didn't think of it being Corona. And now I'm like,
Neither did me. Neither did
wasn't
me, I
it?
said.
Back in February, it was very likely it could have been.
I just said neither was me, and I think it's because I'm watching 90 Day Fiancé and nobody's speaking with the correct English. So I'm just starting to pick it up. I think that's what's happening.
That's so funny that your kid learns English from 90 Day Fiancé.
And nothing is in the right tenses. I get how hard it is to speak another language too. So
Yeah.
Have you watched that show?
No, but Chris Allen texted me the other day.
He texted me too, and that's how he got me to start watching it.
He wants me to start watching it, and I told him that you were watching it, and I was like, this is probably something that I should be watching, but I'm not.
It's great garbage TV.
I love garbage TV, but you know what? We got to get a second TV in the household because I got to watch my programs because Joe doesn't like those programs, so we have to compromise and watch something we don't
They're
both want to
great.
watch.
It's just garbage. I'm now on season 3, I think, and I've gotten to the point where the Americans are so annoying that I'd like to deport them and just import the immigrants.
Are the Americans
worst.
the worst? Like mean?
No, but like this season, there's a 60-year-old guy who's dating a 19-year-old girl, and he has a daughter that's like 20. And you're like,
that the fat guy that's like this?
He's
like
not fat.
gross.
He's very thin.
Okay.
And obnoxious. He wakes her up every morning with like, I guess it's like a train horn or something where like he gets up super early and he's waking her up with this dumb horn. You can just tell.
That's abuse in a weird way.
A lot of these times these people are meeting in countries when they're on vacation. It's like, that's not the real you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then you go back to America and this guy's waking you up with a fucking car horn. Or like, it's so annoying. And she was like in bed and she's like, what is that noise? And then he comes up in the bedroom. He's being all annoying to her. Then he forces her to meet his daughter. And the daughter's like a year or two older than her.
Weird.
And it's just such a weird, yeah. And he's kind of obsessed with his ex-wife who's also from the Philippines. So I don't know. That's one dude.
She probably got the one ex-wife from the Philippines probably got mean and hip to his tricks and was like, "You're stupid."
Yeah, and I think they were closer in age. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think now this girl is a lot younger than him. I mean, when I see him in bed with her, it almost feels like pedophilia. It's weird. To be 40 years older than somebody is really weird.
I totally agree. It is so weird. You're like, I guess it's legal, but what are you doing?
Sure, it's legal, but like, is it really? Like, it's
I know.
the thought of like 60-year-old balls just banging against her young body feels so wrong.
Yeah, it's abuse. Like,
in some ways, it is abuse. Then there was another season where this lady felt really bad for her. She was from Ohio, and she got married to this guy who was like 15 to 17 years younger than her. And he was way better looking than her, and she was almost a little slow. And then he ends up
Was
just
he
being
gay?
no, he just was a dick.
Okay.
He was a
Okay.
dick and then came here and cheated on her a bunch. And you're just like, why wouldn't you just find somebody that you're attracted to actually just marry? He wasn't like a bad looking dude.
Yeah.
I'm like, you just then her son, her whole family's kind of slow. Her name was
Yeah.
Debbie and Mohammed, and the son ended up telling Mohammed that he was going to throw him through a window, and then now he has like a record for doing that, and he can't even get a job. I'm like, Jesus, man, just leave these. Like, even he's slow. I'm like, leave these slow people alone. It's so mean.
No, that is really fascinating because I was at a gas station the other day and I'm just watching this crew of a family walk out and you're like, you know what, you don't want to, it's not like passing judgment, but you can tell they're just dumb.
I don't know. I felt really bad for this family. I was like, just leave them all alone. I don't
But
know.
isn't it weird to like hang out with a family that's just all dumb?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of those things where if you become friends with somebody when you're young and then you kind of grow up and you grow out of that relationship, but you're still friends with them, you're like, how was I friends with these people? They're like,
What are they talking about? What is fun for them?
I don't know, probably just watching TV, which also I enjoy. So I may also be on the spectrum. I
I
just
also
love to
feel
say
like
that.
dumb families also like family, like a lot of family gossip. Like that's their enjoyment.
Yeah, but I think that also it's probably a lot of drinking and doing drugs.
Or like getting together in the woods and like tearing it up on your three-wheeler.
Or you're, going off wheeling.
Which is fun, but
It
that's
seems
like
like it would
you
be fun.
but
Have you
you
ever
do
done
picture
it?
that. I don't know. I've never been on I have never been on one of those three-wheelers. I still to this day, my sister and I, when we went to South Africa with my mom and we went to hang out on one of my mom's friends and she had a banana farm and the neighbor kids had three-wheelers. And my sister, they were like, Vicky, they offered my sister to go for a ride and she felt weird holding on to the guy that she just met like this so she wouldn't fall off. So she was like this on the three-wheeler and she fell right off and we could not stop laughing that she fell off within like 3 seconds of doing a three-wheeler ride.
I mean, that's a good way if you just meet a girl that you want her to touch you to go three-wheeling. It's such like a
Yeah.
random thing where she has to just be all on top of you and you're kind of like, I'd rather fall off.
We did. I've told you before the one time I went to a concert in high school, right? And I got stoned and then I forgot where I parked my car.
No, I don't think I've
And
ever heard this.
oh, okay. So I forgot where I parked my car and I was with my friend Mary and Vicky, my sister. And we had to get the security cop because there's like several parking garages. And
Yes, when they drive you around.
yeah, so he's like, I'll drive you around and we can see if we can find your car. And I was like, okay, so he was on a motorcycle. And so I didn't know this back part was a seat. I thought that was like his cooler. So
In his car?
no, on his motorcycle. So I just assumed I just sat behind him like I was his girlfriend and he goes, "What are you doing?"
That is so funny.
He goes, "There's a seat behind," but I just went crotch to his ass and
You
like
just felt like I was
just
really
held
into
on to
you.
him.
I feel like my car's not even missing. I just want to rub my puss up against your asshole.
I felt so stupid, but it was one of the like funniest, dumbest things I've ever done. And I'm like, oh, my bad.
That's really funny. I saw this is a different topic, but I saw Cuomo tweet to rich New Yorkers to come back from the Hamptons. He goes, "Come back from the Hamptons, I'll cook you dinner." You're like, "Hey man, I'm okay eating lobster every night. I don't need your hot dogs." But because I guess all the rich people are just left and gone to the Hamptons and like their houses in Connecticut.
Yeah, well, there's the crime on the Upper East Side has increased by like 286%. There's like daytime robberies and gunpoint, like I don't know, hold you up at gunpoint stuff.
So is he just asking them to come back so that they can start robbing the rich people?
Yeah, or we're
I
running
guess
out of money here. We need more people to be walking around with a full wallet of cash.
I guess so, but it said something about how they want them to contribute back to the taxes. I guess he means taxes like going to the store and stuff, because they're not just going to pay more tax. They're already still paying rent for that house and stuff. So
Yeah,
does he mean
well,
taxes like
sales
groceries?
tax.
Right, that's what I assumed.
Well, I was up around the Upper East, and then I've been like on TikTok too. There was a girl that was showing all these stores that have just closed up and moved out.
Well, I mean, what did he think was going to happen? He told everyone to stay home, and rich people were like, I'm going to go to my other house and just relax. Why would they leave the Hamptons during the summer to come back?
I know they don't. I mean, most of them go away to the Hamptons anyway when there's not a pandemic during the summer.
Right.
I think a lot of them have decided that they're going to put their kids in school out there rather than in the city
Makes
until the
sense.
pandemic is over. I mean, rich people have it so much. They have it so much easier. They can make all these great decisions, and it's like whatever. It's not a big deal for them.
No, this was just minorly inconvenient for them. Where they're
Yeah.
like, now I have to go to my summer home 3 months early.
Yeah. Oh no.
Right. And then everyone else is like, hey, we might get kicked out on the street. And
Yeah.
Cuomo's like, well, hey, you guys are probably also going to get robbed. So leave all your stuff in your house.
Well, I'm assuming also like you guys have to come back because all the poor people were working at your stores, and now there's no stores here, and so there's no income coming in for a lot of people.
Well, I guess too, they're not even having their houses cleaned, right? Because at least when they probably had maids and people coming to clean their house, I guess they're not even having that done now.
Yeah, I guess not. I mean,
well, it's weird to shit on the rich and then be like, hey, we kind of need you back.
well, that always happens when they talk about, as soon as you start putting a tax or high property taxes, then all the rich people leave and move to Florida where there's not high property taxes. And then they're like, all the industries have moved away. It's just like this weird thing of like, yeah, it makes sense to tax the rich, but then like the rich are always smart, and then they're like, well, fuck this, we're not paying these taxes, and we're going to go to another state where we don't have to pay these taxes,
and we're going to put our money in some type of weird bank in Switzerland or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I have to say there's a reason why rich people are rich. It's because they're like smarter.
Right. And why that family on 90 Day Fiancé is living in like Bumblefuck, Ohio, yes. Getting taken advantage of by some guy from Tunisia.
Yeah, well, I mean, I always remember like when you would go buy pot and then you would notice that your drug dealer's place is like so shitty and crappy, but yet they have the most badass entertainment system. And you're like, if you didn't spend all your, yeah, if I was like, if you didn't spend your money on crap, you could have a somewhat decent TV, but then live in a better neighborhood.
And they're like, nope, I'd rather just have all this stuff.
Well, it's easier and faster.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens to New York City.
Yeah, I think it sounds like there's an exodus, and everybody talks about like a lot of people have moved out. I'm on Facebook Marketplace buying furniture, and you can get so much great deals on like, West Elm coffee tables that I found one for $30 that usually goes probably for a few hundred.
Did you get it?
No, because I don't need a coffee table right now, but there are a lot of great deals. Like I got four chairs mid-century for $30. No, there was three of them for $30. So that was $10 a chair, and they're like in good wood condition. And then I got a wood table for $30.
How do you know they're mid-century?
I looked. It says this brand called Thornet, and that's what the guy told me. And then I looked it up online, and it is from a furniture designer called.
You should go on the road with American Pickers.
Well, you know what? There's a Instagram that I like following called Stooping NYC that my friend told me about, and everybody leaves their like actually amazing furniture on the sidewalk. The only reason why I don't take it is I'm just so nervous of bed bugs.
Yeah.
Where like Marketplace, I'm going into the apartment and I'm looking at it. So if it was a bed bug furniture, they wouldn't still have it in their apartment.
I'm surprised people are letting you in their house during COVID. I guess everyone's wearing masks.
This one guy was like, I apologize, I'm not wearing a mask. I'm like, it's fine, I have one. And I was just going to be in there for about 5 minutes to look at the credenza.
It'd be funny if you were like, it's okay, I already have COVID.
I know.
I'm bringing it to you as a gift.
It'd be cool. I wish I knew if I had the antibodies. So then you could just
go get tested.
Well, yeah, I just don't feel like it.
So, okay, so it's not really, you don't wish, you just wish you had the energy to go get tested.
Or knew that I had been sick. Because at least, like, I talked to Katie Boyle, who's a comic, and she has antibodies, but she knew she was sick. She had the flu-like symptoms in March or February. And so when she tested
I didn't feel well either. I wonder if I actually had it. And then I could just be going out.
Well, who was I talking to? Graham K was saying that he was like, I think you kind of have to test for it 3 times in order to feel like what your results are. It's really not. You're not getting like 100% correct or like correct results.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you get like a new car and the first model isn't really great. So like maybe the brakes don't work and you die. So I feel like that's what kind of these tests are, where they're not really perfected and you're just taking a risk. Like,
yeah,
you don't really know what you're going to get yet. So it's not perfected.
Well, I said I would take the first vaccine.
I know somebody had already taken it. I don't know what happened to them though, but they had come up with a vaccine a couple months ago. And this one was like, I'm the first one to take it. And then I never found out what happened. So she might have died.
She died.
She might be out of here. She's out of this world.
Yeah. Do you have anything planned for this weekend?
I'm going on my friend's house in Connecticut. I haven't seen her.
Nice.
It's so weird. I've just like reconnected with friends I haven't seen in a while that like have normal lives. I went to my friend's house. Where did she live? A couple weeks ago. Carmel, maybe? Or Brewster, something like that. Yeah. And then I was walking the other day and I saw a girl without a mask on. And I was like, look at this fucking cunt. And then it was my friend and we stopped and talked for like a half hour. But both of us were like, I was just thinking how much I hated you. And then I was like, me too. I just saw this girl without a mask walking very briskly around a corner. And I was like, she's not even stopping to give me the right of way. And then we were like, oh, hey. But at first we hated each other.
Why did she hate you? Because you were wearing a mask?
No, I wasn't wearing a mask either. When I go walking, I don't wear a mask. I just like keep crossing if I see people. Yeah. But we were both like coming like to a corner really quickly. And there's also and then I was really like, fuck this girl. And then we were like, oh hey, how are you?
Hi. Did you have to stand did you stand distance away from each other since you didn't have your mask on?
Yeah, we were about 4 or 5 feet away, so
I know I've been crossing the street when I see somebody not wearing a mask a lot of times, or where I'm just like, or if I'm not wearing a mask, then I'm like, well, I don't want them to be mad at me. So let me just be nice and like get over to the other side. It's just really weird where you're just like treating everybody like they're a dude in the, late at night where you're like, I don't want
to get anything from you.
Yeah.
I feel like if somebody else has a mask and I don't, I always like move to the side for them. It's like, but if we both don't have masks, it's kind of like, I'll just cross anyway because I don't want to get there whatever they have.
Yeah.
What other shows have I been watching? I've been watching Rescue Me. I think we talked about that. Have you ever seen it?
No. I'm really bad at watching like episodic TV unless it's on Netflix where you can just binge it.
I know, but it's such a good show that is not like abiding by any PC stuff. It's also a show that's a lot older. It's like from 2004. They have like they have like a retarded guy on it who has Tourette's and always just says racist stuff. Like
That's perfect.
that
I mean, who's
that
gonna confront that?
but that would never make it. You would never be able to have that guy now. He's just like outside in the street yelling the N-word. You're like,
Yeah.
You couldn't even introduce that into a script now. But like back then, I mean, every episode, all they do is talk about gays, and they're not saying the word gay; they're saying the other word.
I know, that's the thing that's so weird with like film and stuff like that, when people are like, this is problematic, but you're like, yeah, it's representing a group, a mindset. And so why would you censor? I mean, everyone's agreeing this isn't a great way to think, but it's someone in real life that we all kind of deal with. So why are we?
Well, even on that show, it's like
it's weird.
I'm sure they would all say it was toxic masculinity, but I'm sure that's exactly what's happening in firehouses.
Yeah,
like there's no way guys aren't acting like that and being misogynistic. Like, even though you don't agree with it, it's probably pretty accurate.
Yeah, and don't you appreciate an accurate portrayal of something rather than watching it just get washed down because it's supposed to fit standards and practices or whatever? Like,
yeah, but even that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where like they took it off of Portland because they're saying it portrayed, I guess, cops in like a positive light or something, or I didn't even remember. I just saw that headline and I was like, I can't.
I know. It's so crazy. Did the film festival thing, and then we had a guest on and we asked him what movie he watched or during quarantine or what he hated, and he said it was As Good as It Gets with Jack Nicholson, where he plays that mentally ill guy that says horrific things to Helen Hunt.
Well, he's just like an autistic guy.
Yeah, and the guy's like, yeah, I found that movie to be problematic, and I was like, yeah, it was written that way. Like, that is a guy, and that was the dilemma, and he was the villain of the movie. Like, I don't understand.
But that guy actually exists in society.
I know, but that's where I'm like, this is just a movie about one dude. This is not a thing of like, it was just like an infuriating thing of like, yeah, I know it's problematic, but that's how he was written. So it's not a problematic movie, and this is just fiction, and this is about one guy's life. And then it was just like, yeah, but he made it seem like all mentally ill people are racist. I'm like, no, it didn't.
I didn't even remember him being racist. I just remember him hating the gay guys.
Yeah.
And then like he was like nice to that one lady because he wanted her to be his waitress, because I guess she always got his order right.
Yeah, but he was still rude to her.
Yeah, he's a dick, but there's tons of dicks that are out there. Like,
no,
it's so
I know.
weird where I know. I'm just saying it's so weird where everyone's like, I don't like it, so I want it to get canceled. How about just turning it off? It's not for you. Like,
yeah.
Didn't UCB get shut down on the West Side because like somebody who was in a wheelchair couldn't get down because it wasn't like wheelchair friendly? Wasn't that one of the reasons why they shut it down or something?
I think it was like one small thing out of yeah.
Right. And then whoever this person was that was in a wheelchair went and made it a big deal. And it's like, hey, just don't go to UCB. Like, not everything is for everyone. It's just so frustrating where you're like, yeah, it would be great if there was a guy that could carry you down. But like, that's not going to happen. Just fucking don't go to UCB. Go to another club. There's a lot of clubs that are in basements.
I know. Well, you're just like, yeah, as it's hard as this to say, New York is just not made for anybody that has a disability. It's just an awful
New York's
city.
Not made for people who don't have disabilities. Like, have you ever tried walking around one day in New York City and how many people you hate and how many people are just being rude? Like, New York is for nobody. If you come here and you're upset that it's not accessible to you, that's on you. It's so frustrating because one place doesn't have an elevator and you can't go to it. Now you have to file a complaint and now it's a big deal.
Yeah. Well, it's like the same thing. It's hard to, you're like, yeah, I mean, it sucks because you guys are such a small percentage of the actual population, and it's really hard to cater to everybody. I mean, we haven't even made things like easy for left-handed people, and there's way more left-handed people
Than people
than
in
there are.
wheelchairs?
Yeah, most likely. I don't know the math on that, but it feels like it.
It feels like it's right to go with
Yeah.
that. I feel like those numbers are representative of each other. It's like,
um,
look, if you go to a gay bar and you're straight, you're not going to be like, hey, there's nobody in here that wants to fuck me. And you're like, I don't know. It just seems weird. And I'm not saying those two things are the same, but like, not everything is catered to everyone specifically.
yeah, it's just like a sad, hard truth of the way things, work in life. Or like,
Also,
I don't
UCB,
know.
UCB isn't even great. Like, who cares? Go to someplace else. You're upset that, I don't know. I feel like if you really want to go there, you can shimmy out of your wheelchair and roll down the stairs and go.
Also, like, you shouldn't support a theater that doesn't pay their employees properly.
Right. That's a reason to close down UCB, and because of the raping, but not necessarily because you can't get a fucking wheelchair down the stairs. It's like there's so many other reasons why that place is awful and wrong.
Yeah.
It's just weird to me where like one person gets offended by a place or it doesn't fit their needs, and then they're like, I'm shutting this place down. It's like, just go somewhere else.
Well, it's the same, as you brought up the kindergarten cop, you're like, I mean, it was like what we talked about last week with Dave Temple about, when all the millennials and Generation Z or whatever got upset about this John Wayne article from Playboy from like 1958 talking about Black actors. And they're like, everyone lost their shit. And I love that I think it was The Onion where like, if they're mad about that, like wait till they find out about Hitler, where you're like,
It's
shit,
just so
why are we
weird.
digging up old shit? It's just like, that guy's
Well,
dead.
I know, but it's also like you can't cancel everything from the past. Like,
Yeah.
there are things from it that sucks. And also, I just think if you want to cancel everything from the past, like you're not gonna be able to blame white people for everything. So stop canceling it, make us liable for everything, and just move forward. It's just like
Yeah.
nobody wants anything that was awful from the past. And you're like, okay, but like you have to acknowledge it's still part of history. There's still
Yeah.
misogynist, there's like that still exists, even if you don't like it. Seeing it portrayed on TV isn't glorifying it or saying it's great. It's just something that actually, it's so weird to me to criticize fiction.
Yeah.
Like, to get upset
Yes.
about a fictitious movie.
I
You're
mean,
like,
I don't even get upset about like a comic that has ideas or views that are different from mine that I find problematic. You're just like, yeah, that's not it. But like, if they deliver their thought process in a really humorous way, I appreciate the joke. And don't you find it fascinating to know what people are thinking? I love that. But if you're going to
it's
censor that, you're not going to have people
also,
expressing their opinions.
yeah, also like this cancel culture is just garbage. Like, I understand people were upset with Nick Cannon for what he said about white people and Jews, I guess. But it's like canceling him is not going to actually make him like those people more. He's going to be like, now I really hate them. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense to cancel people if they don't like a group of people. And it's happening that everyone, I mean, it's just, you really just can't say anything. That's what it is. You can't have any proof of ever saying anything out there. Like, podcasts are just going to ruin so many people's careers, and it's insane.
I know. What is it? I think Joe was talking to Colin Quinn about, he's like, everybody's so worried about getting canceled, but yet we're all just recording ourselves for hours every week. So if we're so scared of it, why are we talking so much?
I think the problem is somebody like Colin doesn't need to do a podcast because he's already famous and has a fan base. For people that don't, you're trying to garner an audience, but you're also then just, like you said, saying so much stuff on a podcast that you don't remember saying. You know what I mean? Imagine
Yeah.
somebody dug up something we said in 2006, you're like 2016 when it started, be like, yeah, I guess I said that. That sounds like my voice. I don't remember it.
And like a lot of times I feel like we're just kind of like trying to search for a joke or a bit while we're talking. I don't
That's true
generally
too.
kind of feel like I stand behind most stuff that I say because I'm only going, like yesterday I was in a meeting and they were talking, some guys shared a story about Ellen DeGeneres about with one of the young HBO showcases. It was happening in New Orleans, and apparently the day before she was like, "Hey everybody, this is bullshit. We don't need this. Let's stand up and not go do this." And then apparently she then showed up the next day to do the showcase, and she was like one of the only few comics, and I'm like, good for her. But I feel like people would, I was like, I'm just joking. I'm like, I just think it's funny to be like, go girl, get what you need. But I just feel like, even like, I'm just totally joking on that, but I feel like people would be like, she did a shitty thing. How dare you support something like that? I'm like, no, I know it's a shitty thing.
It's so weird with the whole Ellen thing that's going down, because everyone's kind of known she's been awful for a long time, and I feel like I just want to say, like, I never thought she was a great dancer. And I know that might be problematic to some people, but I saw her dancing and I was like, I don't think this is good at all, and we're just giving her a pass because she's a gay woman on this talk show.
Yeah.
I also submitted a writing packet and they never even got back to me, so I don't care if they cancel the show.
Yeah. I mean, but honestly, when I see that show and I've heard that people submit writing packets, you're like, what on earth are you putting in your writing packet for Ellen? Like, you'll be in a dunk tank. You're going to be playing ping pong with this person. There's no creative energy that goes into it.
I think they gave us maybe some topics to write about, and it was like something about like getting a new painting. Like, it was something that is not anything that might be gunshots. I hope not. But it might be something where it's like, I don't relate to your world. I don't know what any of this stuff is. It's so goofy, and like, she comes off really nice on the show. She does, but like, I don't know. Who knows how she really is?
No, well, that one's kind of weird too, because I think a lot of those guys, like host of show, they just kind of show up, get their jokes. What are they doing today? And then that's it. They shoot and then they go to their private home. Like, it's because I know like Colbert now, he doesn't even stick around for the stand-ups. He's just like, they do the showcase show. Yeah. And so, so I don't really know how much responsibility they have on the control of the toxic work environment. I actually feel like a lot of them don't even know what's going on.
I think people thought she was shitty though, because when the pandemic hit, I think she didn't want to pay everybody. So like, she had a skeleton crew, I think.
Yeah,
so
well, that happened with a lot of businesses.
Yeah, and I guess people are like, she's like, has $500 million. What is she doing to these families that need that money?
Yeah. Well, what did like Jay Leno tweeted like she had donated like, I don't know, has raised so much money for charity. But then you're like, yeah, awful people can do amazing things sometimes.
Well, also be charitable to people you know. Like,
exactly.
I mean, it's just like, who knows how many people that I don't know what their salary is, but I'm assuming cutting their salary during the pandemic when you have all this money is because I think she was doing it from home, the show.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why she didn't need as many people, and she kind of cut their salary.
Well, it's so much easier to give tons of money to people that you don't know than it is to treat people nice.
Sure. It's just like,
you just like cut a check and there's no emotion behind it. So it's like, it's just hard. Like, of course that would be easier for her to donate so much money to charity and then be like a piece of shit to her employees.
Well, I think that's what we should just do to people we find their behavior toxic or we don't agree with them. Every time they do something like that, they just have to write a check. That's what we should just do at this point. When you say something problematic,
like a swear jar.
Yeah, and like the bigger offense, like Nick Cannon should have just got taxed something where he had to send that money to like some type of white or Jewish foundation for something. That's what we should just do with people.
Let's white just tax foundation.
I don't know. Whatever. What are white people struggling with right now?
Illiteracy? I don't know.
That's actually very good. I love that. Money for the illiterate whites. I don't know.
White people
I'm sure
read.
There's also a lot of rich white people that have probably lost a lot of money and they're going to be homeless. So give them some money too.
Yeah, they're struggling. Well, it's like when we talked about, I guess during when the stimulus check and unemployment, like a lot of people were doing way better financially than they ever have. I'm part of that.
A lot of people.
They were saying that during that time period, I think we went shopping the most that we have ever have as a nation.
You're gonna have to go to the Nick Cannon program if you keep this up.
Which I think is so funny. I'm like, I did pay off my debt, but I also helped Jeff Bezos during this time period because I felt really bad for him.
We all helped Jeff. We were like, we've seen that you went through this divorce and you lost a couple of $1 million, so we're gonna help you get right back there.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is like, okay, so the federal government took away our $600 a week right now. Like they stopped it.
Yes.
And I'm like, nice try. I'm still doing better than I was before with the 500. Like this is way more money than I was making in stand up. So I'm still doing pretty well.
I've been following that story. First of all, I'm in this unemployment group on Facebook, which is amazing. It's just people just being mad at each other and fighting it. There was a point where it was sort of helpful. Now people have just kind of turned on each other, which is amazing to me. I could read that for hours when I can't go to sleep at night. But I do think we're going to get money again soon, because the only way Trump has a chance of winning is if he brings back that money. So I'm surprised it took him this long to even say that he was for it. Not that I want him to be president, but I do think if he doesn't have that money back, he has no chance of winning.
Yeah, it's in his best interest to give us another stimulus check, or
not the stimulus,
the federal
money. Yeah, I know California was looking into doing it just by the state, not even with federal money.
We have the money because here's the thing that's so crazy. Like Joe is showing me, I think we spend like $500 billion on military, and we're like, even if we cut, let's say $300 billion from our military, we would still be the top country with the most money given to our military. So just think how great $300 billion would be for people that are struggling with money right now.
Also, though, aren't we just printing money at this point? There's not actual gold backing money up anymore, is there?
I don't think so.
So just keep printing money.
Yeah, I don't. Well, that's the thing is like, because we all put it back in the economy, as we've seen during the pandemic that we spent a lot of money.
Right, but if we don't get that money, the economy is going to tank.
Yeah, but all these businesses have gone bankrupt, and so there's amazing sales right now.
There's amazing sales, and I'm hoping that once the economy really tanks, that I can buy a house for like, I don't know, $8,000.
Like Detroit, how you can get a nice
Detroit,
home.
I want Flint prices in New York City.
Yes, that's what we want. Maybe we should just start crapping in the water.
I don't know if that's going to help, but I do think that people are going to just be living on the street.
Yeah.
I don't know what's
that's
for
happen. Sure. It'll be really interesting in the next few months if nothing like federal aid.
They're going to have to do something because too many people are unemployed. You know what is interesting, though, about that unemployment group? There was one lady in there who was like, now without the $600, she's like, I'm only making $92 a week. And you're like, okay, so that means you were making roughly $150 to $200 a week, right? So now you were getting $2,400 plus that $100. So you should have money saved for like months. And she was like, I can't believe now I'm only having $92 a week. And it's like, but you were only making $800 a month anyway.
Yeah.
Why weren't you saving at least a couple grand for a couple of months? Like, it's weird and I'm not saying she shouldn't have received that money, but it's weird to post that. Do you know what I mean? Why would you post that knowing everyone knows you were never making that much money?
Yeah. I don't know. I think about that too when because I tweeted about like, I'm still doing pretty well with that 500 a month or a week. But then it's like, I think most people would be like, well, why are you still doing stand-up? And you're like, excellent question. I have no idea. This is not financially responsible what I'm doing.
Yeah, but you're too far in.
I know. And you could consider like, we're in a position that we're doing way better than most comics in this industry.
That's true.
With credit-wise and stuff.
If we just quit, maybe those comics would move up. Maybe it would be the nicest thing we could do for newer comics. It's just to quit.
To quit.
Just to just quit and get money from the government forever.
I mean, it's a pretty sweet deal, and I feel like I've been living my best life ever during quarantine. I've been focusing on the stuff that I want to do.
I feel like a lot of people have. I'm like seeing friends I haven't seen in 10 years. Like it took a pandemic for me to start talking to girls that I was really close with.
Yeah, you have like now a better spiritual connection to your friends and family. You're talking to your mom again. It's like your nature has come back again.
I mean, it's so crazy. I would have probably still not been talking to her if it wasn't for the pandemic, and I wouldn't have visited either of those friends.
Yeah.
I'm going
Well,
hiking even though I don't like it. Like I'm doing so much. So many people now are just doing so many things where like, remember everyone was just inside on their phones and like, and then when the pandemic hit, everyone was like, we want to go outside. We want to go to the park. We want to ride a bike. You couldn't get bikes anymore.
yeah. Well, that's it. Last night I was like, I kind of like pandemic comedy right now because everything's in a park, which is great. It's on a rooftop, which is better. It's not as depressing as a comedy club. And every show is like 5:30 or 6 p.m. So you're done by
Yeah,
8 and I'm home at a reasonable hour. And my sleep schedule is back. Like I'm
it's
waking up
better.
earlier now. Yeah. I feel like I'm a part of society, as before, and I felt like I was just like this weird lone wolf just drifting through the city at night.
A lone wolf. That's true. We are like wolves, just getting home at 3 in the morning, watching TV till 4.
Yeah.
The
And
pandemic has
also,
actually been
yeah,
the best thing for everyone, except for
it
the
really,
people that died. But
yeah.
maybe their families are better off. I'm sure there are people who are just draining their family, and this has kind of helped them to lose some people.
Yeah. Well, it's also like just I know that there's some things that are really fucked up, but if you think about it on yourself or as an individual, I bet you most people's lives felt better during pandemic.
Yeah, people have time to actually do stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas before, everyone's like in a rush. You're doing one thing, getting home, got to go to the gym, got like there's just not enough hours in the day.
Yeah, like last night I finished the show. I was in the park. I managed to go grocery shopping and I was finished all that stuff within a leisurely pace at like 10 o'clock at night and was able to
It's
watch a TV
wonderful.
show and go to
It's
bed at
wonderful.
midnight.
That's wonderful. It's like giving everyone their life back.
Yeah. Um, where I'm like, I like doing stand up, but I wish it was more during the day than it was at like 1 a.m.
I can't imagine doing midnight shows again. Could you imagine doing a midnight show, getting on around 1, getting home so late?
No, I hate it. Also, the crowds have been so much more, they're more polite, they're more forgiving. Everyone's in a better mindset because they're so grateful. I
Maybe
think
we
everyone
just
beforehand was so shitty. I was kind of really starting to hate audience members.
maybe this has been the best thing for us. The pandemic of 2019, 2020.
Well, I have to say, I feel like our podcast, we've been in a real zone for the last month or so.
It's great. We just need people to listen. I know that I have to really get a new computer or something because somebody wrote to me and was like, hey, I can't really hear you. And again, I don't want to get canceled, because when one
Yeah.
person doesn't like something, you tend to cancel it. So
Yeah. You're
I
going to
have
get
to figure
shamed.
out, I know, I have to figure out a new computer system. Like I'm going to have to get a new computer.
Speaking of shame, we'll get end on this. So there's a comic in the scene, I guess, Jake
Okay.
Flores, who has beef with the Legion of Skinks.
Oh God, guys, I don't know if you have to be following it. There's no way you're not following it. And
What, can
didn't
you
he just
explain it? I was like, they unearth a video of him eating his own cum?
Did they? I don't think so. I think he outed himself.
I thought the Legion of Skinks, or maybe they were like, I saw his tweet. He goes, they're trying to bully me because they found a video of me working with a friend who is an amazing sex worker where I eat my own cum. And I'm like, what is happening?
I don't think they outed him. I think he tried to Eminem it and do like remember on 8 Mile where he's like, I'm garbage, my mom's a whore. I think he just tried to do that where he's like, hey guys, I did a sex video and I ate my own cum. And you're like, well, nobody asked about this. I don't know why you're even bringing this up. And then even I think Lewis was like, hey man, I wasn't even gonna comment on this because like people like weird sex stuff. But then like he was I don't know, it was weird that he was like kind of accusing them and then nobody even brought it up.
Yeah, and the weird thing is like, I mean, if you think about it, most of us have eaten cum, but you just don't
Sure.
tape it.
Why is there proof?
But like, I'm actually just begrudgingly swallowing it just because it's part of the job. It's, you know how there's one thing in your job that you hate? That's the
There's
one
lots of
thing in the blow job
yeah.
that I hate, but you just do it. But I'm not taping it, but I think it's
You're not
different.
like, imagine being
Like
like,
a,
hey, get this on camera. You're just like licking it up like a puppy bowl. I didn't watch. Is there a video of him doing it? I just read that thing.
he said there is I guess when he outed himself, he said it was a video. And I was telling Joe, I was like, I don't know what I would do if I found out you have a video of you eating your own cum. Like, I don't want to, you don't want to kink shame, but it's like, you know, it's kind of the same way. Like, you should never see your boss with their shirt off. Like, how do you respect them
I
or
don't know.
take anything they say seriously afterwards?
It just reminds me of like putting it like a dildo on and fucking your husband, and then after when he can't put up the shelf, you're like, I don't know. You're like, well, the power dynamics has definitely changed now.
Yeah, I think
it
I'm
seems
the
it seems like
dominant.
he just wants people to know that he has a porn tape. Like that's all that seemed like to me, because I did see it and I'm like, what? Why are you bringing this up? I think he's
Well,
been waiting for somebody to bring it up.
it's weird. Well, he always has beef with Legion of
Lewis,
Skanks.
yeah.
Yeah, Lewis, and they
When you say
they
someone has beef with Lewis with Legion of Skanks, they just have beef with Lewis.
yeah, because it's never really none of the
It's
other
not Big
members.
J. It's not Dave.
They
None of them
don't
are
give a
ever.
shit. Yeah.
None of them are fighting with people like Lewis is. Lewis is just out there fighting whatever he wants, which I appreciate for content. It's amazing to watch. But yeah,
Yes.
it's just Lewis. Like Big J's not fighting with any of these people.
But it's like Jake always calls him out for saying racist stuff, but at the same time you're like, yeah, at least we're not eating our own cum.
I don't know. It's such a bizarre world. I don't think I could watch that tape.
I
It
can't
already
eat.
makes me already
Yeah.
want to throw up.
But I do say this where you're like, Jake, you should just join Legion of Skanks. This is the kind of shit they live for. A guy that eats his own cum.
Yeah, I don't know why he hasn't proposed to just be the president of Legion of Skanks.
Where I'm just like, if you can't beat him, join him.
Yeah, and eat your own cum.
I
mean,
mean, all
that's
like
actually,
this. Yeah.
I'm all for a guy eating his own cum. As long as I don't have to eat it, I'd be like, that's such a turn on. I love when you eat all your own cum.
Yeah. I mean, I prefer it so I don't have to eat it.
Exactly. Just pretend it's your kink, and then you could just have guys eat their own cum, and then you don't have to do anything with it.
That sounds like like now I feel stupid. I should have just been like, oh my God, it really turns me on when you eat your own cum. So
it's not too late to try it. I think you can reintroduce it into the relationship. Try it
just
this
like
weekend when you're away.
lap it up.
Like right when he's gonna come, you just point his dick in that direction back to him.
I think Joe would be so mad at me.
But this is turning me on so much. I am the
love
most turned
this.
on right now. Yeah. I love
That's
it so
the
much,
thing.
I'm going to have sex with you again.
Because guys ask us to do things that we're like not into, but you're like, I guess this, you know, their thing. But then they get really upset when you're like, it really gets me going really wet when you eat your own cum.
And when you do the dishes. I love it. I love when you do the dishes. That really turns me on the most.
It's so hot. Yeah, when you put away all the stuff that you're supposed to put away.
Are you excited for your shows this weekend? This is going to come out after your show, so you can't really promote it. Guys,
No.
I hope that you will go see Sarah.
Well, I've been lightly promoting it because I don't know how I feel about it, and I don't want to get dragged for doing an indoor show. Because I noticed that New York Comedy Club said that on their stipulation, because now they're doing outdoors, that if you do an indoor, you can't do their show for about 2 weeks. So I respect that and I understand it. So I am hesitant about doing an indoor show because I kind of want to just do spots around the city rather than doing and build up a set again, because I want to start doing a new 45 to an hour since I just put out an album.
Well, why don't you just stay home and write it all in a week? You ever see comics who come out with a brand new week? I remember when
Yeah.
I was opening for Ari on the road and he was talking to Bert, like Bert will just write like 45 minutes in like a weekend or something. Or like in maybe a couple of weeks. And you're like, how? That's
Yeah,
so
but he's
crazy to
a
me
good
to
salesman. He just sells that shit where
yeah, and he's also I think a storyteller. So it's a little bit different when you're doing stories from actually doing like short jokes. But
yeah.
it's like imagine just staying home and writing 45 minutes in like a month and then you're like, I'm gonna go perform this now.
Yeah, here's the thing, like a lot of times I'll write a joke, like even now during quarantine, and now when I'm doing it the few times I'm like, I actually don't feel like this is anything.
Right. You're like,
So I
I
have to
haven't
cut
said
it.
that. But imagine you were on a headlining tour in theaters and you wrote this 45 minutes a month before. And yes, he's really funny and he could do that, but I would just be like, oh, none of this is good. I've just wasted all of your guys' money. I'd have to start doing crowd work.
And then apologizing at
And
the
be like,
show. Like,
I'm so
I really thought this 45 was going to work.
but I see that it's not.
No, I know that, but here's the difference. Those kind of guys push through and make that 45-minute work. This is what I do. The first time a bit doesn't land, I'm like, all right, she's got to go. Like, I'm really bad to my kids. I have no faith in them.
I will keep them around. I'll try and reintroduce them at another time. Um, don't give up on your babies. They might
I
just need a
know.
little work.
That is true. That is true. I'm just like, I'm a horrible salesperson.
What's a joke that you recently wrote that you've started doing on stage that you love and is really good that you like? Because I haven't seen you in a while, so I don't even know what your new jokes are.
Well, I have like one observation of like, when we were walking around the Manhattan, I was like, oh, I wish, think about like, like rooftop bars, it only feels like you can only be extremely attractive when you go to a rooftop bar.
Yes.
And I was like wishing that there was rooftop bars for people that are like sixes and below. And then I was
Ooh.
like, you know what? It kind of makes sense to have a rooftop bar where everyone's hot because you don't want to go up 20 flights of stairs or an elevator and then find out once you get there, it took you forever to get up there. And then it's just like ugly people.
And that makes sense because I feel like a lot of ugly people hang out in basements. So even if you go down one flight, you're like, well, it's not that bad. I only wasted like 5 minutes. So
I know. So I've been doing that and it did well as a tweet, but when I'm doing it on stage or like in the
tweet
park,
to
it
stage
doesn't.
is hard sometimes.
Well, I actually think a lot of people don't know terminology of referring to like being a 10 and a 6. Like when I just say being a 6, I haven't explained.
But I know exactly what you're talking about.
You do, but I think a few times I've had somebody go, a 6 is not good.
Where people don't know it's not good.
Yeah, where don't you feel like if somebody called you a 6, you'd be like, ouch.
Yeah, I would know that it's not great, but it's better than being a 5. That's what I would say.
Yeah. But
I'll
then
take it.
like who's a 4?
If you watch 90 Day Fiancé, you're going to see some 4s. You're going to see some 3s also. Start watching it because you will be fascinated by it. It's fascinating. Just like all of it. All of it's fascinating.
No, it is a good point. That show is just like, it is more interesting to watch ugly people. I love ugly people.
I do love ugly people. I don't love retarded people, but I love ugly people. You love retarded babies, which they are kind of cute.
They're sweet. You know what I also find fascinating is people that are horrific dressers.
You're going to see a lot of that also on 90 Day Fiancé. I really think you need to watch that show because everything that you love is on it. It has all of it.
Everything. 6s and below, and people
that
are bad dressers.
People
and then
that are bad dressers.
Is it people that also think they're 10s? I love people that think they're 10s.
This one girl on this season I'm watching is trying to get her husband from Israel into modeling. And the guy is like not into it. He's like, I don't want to do that. And she's like pushing him like a mother that's trying to get one of their kids on, what's it, like tiaras and tots or something.
Yeah.
She's like one of those aggressive stage handler type of moms, but it's like a regular girl. And
Yeah.
she moves in with her family with him. I mean, just so many crazy dynamics where it's like, this is not going to work.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Can you imagine being a stranger to the country and then you're like living with this stranger's grandmother or mom?
This new season has the most worst like matches on it. There's like this white woman from, I guess, like Pennsylvania, and she gets engaged to this guy that is from Jamaica. And he like is used to just being a on the beach all day. You know what I mean? He's like on the beach. That's what he does. He's doing sit-ups and shit on the beach. He's like a lifeguard. Do you know what I mean?
What
And
an
then he
amazing life.
right. And he's like fucking all these tourists that come there. And then he goes to being engaged to her, and he's going to like Podunk, Pennsylvania, where it's like pretty racist.
Yeah.
And she's having like dinner with her sisters, and the one sister is like, because I guess he was contributing money to his family when he was in Jamaica, and then the one sister goes, "Are you going to still continue to support?" Because he has no money now. That's the other thing. A lot of these immigrants come here with like $0, and then they're eating lobster, and you're like, well, he didn't pay for that.
Yeah.
So the sister goes, "Oh, are you going to continue giving money to your family while you're here?" And he goes, "Absolutely." And she goes, "Okay." So now the girl that's engaged to him is starting to get concerned, because she hasn't been concerned this whole time. And then she goes, "What amount would you say you would be sending back?" And he goes, "Well, let's say if I make 10, I'm going to be sending back 9. And the lady goes, "Oh, I did not know that." And then her sister goes, "Yeah, well, there's probably a lot of stuff you don't know about him." Like, this is a conversation you should have probably had before. And like, so now the guy, I guess, doesn't want to get sent home. So he's rearranged it to say, well, only if they really needed it. But that's not the case. Because he was on a phone call with his sister, who was just like, "Hey, when are you going to be able to send money?" And he's like, "I won't be able to get a job till at least 3 months after I get my green card." So like, that I would love to see play out, because that's going to be an issue.
Yeah, there's nothing like when a couple, that's the fun thing about marriage, is when you start learning about your partner, if they're going to be a complete piece of shit. And then you're like, why didn't you think this through? He's been on the beach working out. How is he going to adjust to wherever he is in dumbfuck Pennsylvania?
Yeah, like when they were driving in Pennsylvania, she goes, "There's no beaches here." And he was shocked. I'm like, dude, you've done no research at all. He just came there and was like, "There's no beaches here." This dude's on the beach every single day. And like that 60-year-old dude with like the 20-year-old girl, the sister brought up and was like, "Do you want kids?" And the guy was like, "I don't want kids." It's like, of course, you're in the final stages of your life.
Yeah, I know. And then to be like upset with him because he doesn't want to have kids, you're like, you didn't know that a 60-year-old guy doesn't want to have kids?
Yeah.
With your 19-year-old self? Like, he just wants to fuck you.
I know. I was just waiting for her to say, like, what do you think about the future with him? And if she was just like, he probably has 10 years. Like, I could do 10 years with this guy.
Honestly, if that was the case, if I was her, the 19-year-old girl, I would just be like, just feed him lots of sugary treats so he dies earlier.
Yeah, but he's super controlling. Like, she took all his books out and tried rearranging them, and he had like a heart attack. And I was like, let her
change your plan. That's the way you do it.
Let her. Of course, if he's freaking out about her dumb book collection, he's gonna freak out about a kid. It's like, let her rearrange her books. Who cares? She's like a child. She needs something to do.
That guy sounds borderline abusive, and it sounds like irresponsible for the show to let this girl happen.
I see them kiss, and I literally want to throw up. It's so gross.
So fascinating. I have to watch the show.
You have to watch it, and also, like, you have to do it when you don't have other stuff to do, because you will keep watching it. It's addictive garbage.
It's like TikTok.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's like.
That's the part of TikTok that I like. I've stopped liking, I like people telling me they're like crazy, where they're like toxic friend story. And I'm like, yes, this is the content that I like. I want to know what crazy shit your friend did to you and that you put up for so long because you were unaware that this is awful behavior. That's what I like. Yes.
Agree.
I love it when wives talk about their narcissistic husbands. I'm like, he did what? I want to hear all those crazy stories. Like, it is so fascinating to me.
Or even like, I like hearing stories where I don't like hearing it, but like a husband's
It's
abusive in some
interesting.
way.
Yeah.
A husband's like abusive in some way, and she's like, I had no idea. And you're like, you had no idea? Like, you
No,
have to have a little bit of an idea.
well, one would be he wakes me up with a bullhorn every morning because he doesn't like it when I'm not on his time.
Right. Or he throws dishes at my head. You're like, there's like a little bit that you knew. Maybe not totally knew you were going to get like an ass kicking, but like a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, those are the ones where you're like, come on. Like, I've asked my friends in the past where that got divorced, and I was like, before you got married, if you think about it, was there a moment that you kind of looking back, you're like, yeah, it was all there? And they usually say yes.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. It's just hard. When you're in it, you always make excuses, or that you feel like the guy who has passed or whatever, and then you just kind of like, maybe his upbringing was different than mine and I should be a little bit more tolerant of it. And then all of a sudden you're like I remember I dated this one guy and he never had a phone. He had to reach me by a payphone across the street, and I was like, it's just hard. And then when I look back, I was like, he was 26 years old
Without a phone? Yeah, that's
without a phone. That's crazy. And didn't have a bank account. And I still it's hard for a lot of people to have two forms of identification. I'm just being such a bitch.
That is true.
Not realizing my privilege. And then you're like, oh, and then I just dedicated 6 years of my life to a guy that was so never had his shit together.
Well, I mean, all you can do from it is have the experience. You're like, well, that was an experience being with Roger.
Was an experience. That's all it was. It was just, that was an experience.
All right, I'm going to go hiking before it starts pouring.
Okay. I'll see
Wish
you
me luck.
Monday. All right.
Guys, thanks
Vadge
for
podcast, Gmail.
buy Sarah's album.